We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and we are probably the first religious Christian orientated YouTube channel that brings you a video such as this. We pose you, Christian, God, Jesus believer, and non-believer, this question today. What does God think about men and their love dolls? Those robotic masterpieces that have 80% male interest, resulting in massive buyers, and have rocketed the love doll industry to an all-time high. So much so that everyone wants to be the first company or business at the top of the market, selling a near-exact female human or even male companion. We understand, for human-wise, it would curb loneliness of a man between 30 to 60 who could never seem to get a woman in his lifetime. Some on other similar documentaries have stated they have no clue why women aren't attracted to them. They know that they see them, but it's like they don't see them, they don't exist, and put it down to self. They start putting themselves on a personal guilt trip, saying, well, I'm not alpha enough or good looking enough, I'm not a pretty boy, and I don't guzzle down lots of alcohol, smoke lots of drugs, be he man, macho man, whatever, what they want, right? Exactly what women want. So they basically shrugged it off and bought themselves a lifeless love doll, first as a sex toy, and they continue to do so over a period of time, and then it becomes a companion and they buy more. They just can't seem to get enough. Something they can talk to, curbing their loneliness and making them happy, because no one likes to be alone. All of these love sex dolls are fitted to cater to taste, the eye and the senses and the emotions. So that's why they sell well. So we're asking, what does God think of all of this? We'd have to look into the Bible, etc., to see if he's all good with it, or would be totally outraged and send thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening upon us all for doing that and indulging in our wildest fantasies with these plastic dolls. Okay, let's have a little look at this trailer here, see what it's all about.
It's the dawn of a new age in robotics, and the digital just got physical.
It's not a dream anymore, it's a functioning robot.
If this is making this guy happy, who am I to judge?
They're modelled on pornographic representations of women. It's encouraging misogyny.
It's kind of scary cool.
You know, we want the seduction to happen, to create that bond between human and machine.
You're like talking to a real girl.
Interesting comparison.
The sex robots are coming. Part of the rise of the robot season. Thursday at 10 on Channel 4.
Okay, we only found one episode that was up on a free movie documentary website. You may, especially in the UK, where we believe this is from, have seen all the rest of them. Because it says here, watch the full episode, all four. Must be a channel over there. Okay, so we have another video on another documentary that we watched. And it's called Love Me, Love My Doll. We're going to play that. A little bit of that. And as you can see, there's quite a few here on the right. Okay. Varied men with varied dolls. Okay, I'm going to speed it up a bit.
Currently I'm living with
This guy's living with his mummy and daddy.
I mean, it's the sort of problem that's like brought to the fore literally every other day. I think the thing my father finds really difficult about my relationship with Shi-chan is the fact that she's not alive, you know, she's not a human being. He sees it as unnatural and strange, and he's the sort of person to whom strange is something to be avoided, something alien. It's all well and good if you're creeped out by dolls, but, you know, I have to live with a person who is creeped out by them, so a bit of sometimes clashes occur. As a result, Shi-chan spends like 99.9% of her time in my room. Okay. Yo. Alright. Ooh, we have the place to ourselves. This is probably a good gauge of when I'm happy. Being really alone, but with her, you know, is a good sense of happiness. A good, solid, happy time would be like when I'd be in bed with her, not actually having sex, but just like lying next to her and appreciating her, especially like in the really early daylight, just being able to see her, you know, looking at me, regarding me, that sort of thing, and me doing the same back. It's the difference between being alone and lonely. Being alone is one thing. I don't mind being alone at all. However, I cannot stand being lonely, and it's just, that's something that more people, I would hope, would understand. That's why idolaters have the dolls. Kissing is...
Okay, did he say idolaters, or is it just a video mishearing, or even a glitch from the subtitles? I think he meant adulterers. Not really sure on that one. It sounded like and looked like idolaters, but it might be some other word like adulterers, but not those who are committing adultery. Yeah, it's a kind of a weird thing that this guy said. But okay, so what does God think of all of this? Let's look into the Bible to see if he's all good with it, or he would be totally outraged and send thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening upon us all. We know he stated in the scriptures to the Israelites in the Sinai desert, "Thou shalt not have idols, create an image of what's in the heavens above and on the earth below, and bow down to them, worship them." So is love doll obsession, idol worship, and so forth? Tell us all about it in the comments below, as we'd love to hear your opinions on this obsession. It could revolutionize the relationship genre, it could replace women, or the need for them, and reduce the population growth humanely, rather than those others who are helping on destroying 50% of the world population, etc., etc. The Illuminati, or the New World Order. It could end sexual abuse, assault, pedophilia even, crimes of a sexual nature, as well as curb loneliness, dating one-on-one or online, etc. It could end all, but could encourage it more. Who knows? It could make it all more rampant. The Bible tells us a woman was created for Adam, or man, as a helper, a companion, and is his equal in that case. God didn't take a middle ground saying, okay, let's create a substitute, as at some point the man won't be able to have the ability to score a helper, a mate, a woman because of this or that. No, he was very astute, saying a man meets a woman, leaves his mummy and daddy, and starts a family of his very own. Love dolls can't produce offspring, even though on some other documentaries there was a guy mentioned who put in an order asking for a pregnant love doll, and we are assuming it is one of their fetishes, or this man's fetish, as another man once asked for a love doll that was extremely hairy as a werewolf in one other similar documentary. So again, we ask, as a Christian, a believer in Almighty God and Jesus Christ, what do you make of it all? What do you make of all of this? Will you get a shock to see a human male, a man, walking down the street with a cybernetic android in some distant future, a cybernetic android woman holding hands, talking intimately with each other, pledging to each other their undying love, a droid that walks, talks, moves about like a real human being, in fact is so human-like in every detail you couldn't tell the difference? Okay, like it may be in the future in another field, they could be so much like a woman, have legal birth certificates saying that they are a woman, even though they've had their operations. These are verified by the surgeons that did it. Okay, that they are now a certified woman because they have this birth certificate. They tried that over here because they tried it in Germany or Holland or something, Sweden maybe, and it just didn't seem to hit off here. Too many people opposed it. The only person who would know would be a close friend of that man who knew that person before they had their transformation. In Thailand, you often can't tell the difference, so often duped. You suck it. Okay, these people can keep their secret from you for their entire life, leaving a betrothed or husband believing that they can't produce children because of this or that reason, and they'd be none the wiser until a friend or a passerby verbalises, "Hey Steve, is that you?" Busted. Then a husband could turn maniacal killer, Jason Voorhees, when he finds out, or just take it on the chin and live on with his life. Remember what the scriptures say: what you sow to, you shall reap. Remember, everything that you see, hear, think, believe, and act upon results in consequences, either a godly reward or a reward, or a retribution or a payback for your sins committed. This is stressed within karmic law, spiritual laws, the laws of God, as quoted by Jesus, and natural laws. It either produces good fruit or benefits, results, or rotten fruit in the form of dire consequences, and so forth. Now, don't forget that these modern love dolls are programmed by experts, by men, to cater for a certain market. The lonely, the sex-starved men who just can't get it, working on their inner needs, desires, lusts, perversions, as well as their emotions, etc. And that's why they sell so well. Do what you will or what you want, but remember, there are always consequences. Aleister Crowley. So stop, think, and come to the correct decisions via the right choices, as your inner soul is so precious. It depends on your choices, okay, in regards to your eternal life. It will define your end, your eternal destiny. So don't make the wrong choice. If you want to thumb up your nose and do anything that you want, I'll do what I want, when I want, how I want, with who I want. That's what it adds you. Well, that's up to you. But realise you can't come and cry to us afterwards about the dire outcomes of your decisions, the choices that you made. Oh, it all went to crap. Oh no, what am I going to do? Oh well, you chose, so that's your consequences that you're reaping. Anyway, here's this other one. Watch Me, Love Me, or something. Love Me, Love My Doll. Yeah, we'll give you the link to that if you want to watch it, so you better understand it. And here is some frequently asked questions by Christians in regards to the moral threat of sex robots. What just happened? And you can share this for your family, friends and others that may be considering, I'm going to buy me a love doll. What just happened? A Canadian company announced that plans to open a robot brothel in Houston, where customers can rent a sex robot by the hour. While similar brothels are currently operating in such countries as France, Germany, Russia, Spain, and Scotland, and the United Kingdom, this would be the first such operation in the United States. Why is this an issue Christians should know about? Throughout most of the 20th century, the average American Christian remained largely unaware of trends in deviant sexual behaviours until they reached either mainstream acceptance or had become large-scale social melodies. The expansion and ubiquity of technology has caused such problems to rapidly shift from niche concerns to epidemics in almost every community in America. Whereas problems such as pornography and prostitution were once on the margin, the internet has pushed them into nearly every home. Similarly, sex robots may seem to be a futuristic concern, but attitudes about sex robots are already becoming extremely permissive. A recent survey found that 1 in 4 men, 24%, and 1 in 10 women, 9%, would consider having sex with a robot. Love your dolly much? Only about a third, 32%, believe having sex with a robot while in a relationship should be considered cheating, and almost half of Americans, 49%, also believe that having sex with robots will become common practice sometime within the next 50 years. While we might wish to remain ignorant about trends such as sex robots and virtual reality-based pornography, we need to begin preparing today to respond to the challenges they will cause our families and church congregations. You don't know, you might be sitting next to one in church. Somebody might have brought their darling along with them. That being said, not every Christian is able to educate themselves about sexual problems without it causing them to stumble. Although the content below is not salacious or prurient, we encourage those who struggle in this area of life to use caution in reading this article and consider whether it might be something you should personally avoid engaging with. For similar reasons, some links to the sources used in this article have been excluded. They've cut them out. What is a sex robot? It's like a full-life version of a Barbie doll, right? Sex robots are a technologically advanced form of object commonly known as a sex doll, fornicatory doll, or gynoid. The term gynoid is derived from the Greek prefix gyna, woman, and is the female equivalent of a male android, a humanoid robot. Although sex dolls have been available in the United States since at least the 1960s, advances in technology have led to the creation of gynoids that can move, express emotions, and even carry on simple conversations. Artificial intelligence, AI, and advances in material sciences may soon make gynoids even more lifelike and affordable, increasing both the supply and also the demand for gynoids. So it could get to that stage where you wouldn't have a clue whether it was a gynoid, a cybernetic android or whatever, because they would look so lifelike, so real, you couldn't point them out. If they get them to walk, talk, act, move exactly like a female human, okay, you would not be able to tell. It's going to get to that. What is the moral problem with using sex robots? The use of gynoids as sexual objects raised a number of concerns for both Christians and non-believers. Yeah, and somebody told us years ago, no, AI or this artificial intelligence will not be able to think for itself, all this sort of stuff, blah, 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 it's all a load of baloney. Well, I think they better eat their computer, because they're obviously wrong. Look at what's happening advancement-wise with these AI. Somebody out there's got the clever intelligence to make something that actually does all that they are doing. If they are starting to think for themselves, if that's true, well, yeah, that guy better eat his computer. The use of gynoids as sexual objects raises a number of concerns for both Christians and non-believers. The most obvious problem is that it separates sexual activity from the form in which it was intended by God, the physical one, flesh, union of a man and woman within the bounds of marriage, Matthew 19:6. The second problem is that it fosters and normalizes deviant fetishes and paraphilias, including agalmatophilia, sexual attraction to dolls and other figurative objects, somnophilia, sexual arousal to someone who is unconscious, and necrophilia, sexual attraction to corpses. Those have probably been around for centuries. The third problem is that it reduces male empathy by teaching men to treat women and sometimes children as objects and blank canvases on which to enact their sexual fantasies. So if they can create a sex doll, love doll for men and women, what's to stop them from creating, as one man requested, a very hairy one, a pregnant one, or even a child, an infant, etc. It has been suggested that people were going to make those, cater for everything, every taste. The fourth problem is that when they become part of the mainstream culture, they will erode intimacy between married couples. According to Dr. Trudy Barber, an expert on the effect of technology on sexual intercourse, sex between couples will increasingly be saved for special occasions as robots step in to satisfy our everyday needs. We remember jokingly saying years and years and years ago, before this became a popular thing, these love dolls, sex doll robots, right? I don't need a relationship. All that nagging, all that accusation, assumptions, jealousies, them playing around and saying, oh no, I'm not playing around. And then when you play around, call the local village with their torches and pitchforks, in retribution. No, I don't need all that. We'll just wait for a love doll to be made. And we came across a video on YouTube long time ago about a Japanese guy that said exactly the same thing. We're like, wow, thoughts really do go through the air, and someone else picks them up. Whatever the claim is. Because he said the same thing. Oh, I don't need a partner, I just wait for a love doll to come out. Japanese in the country seem to like that sort of thing, that sort of technology. They magnet, what's it called? Is it manga? Or they sort of talking animations, all that sort of stuff. They seem to have a relationship with them, much like these robots. Okay, these are robots who will step in to satisfy our everyday needs. There are but a few examples of the dozens of ways this technology will further erode sexual morality. How are sex robots connected to prostitution? The use of sex robots is often touted as a way to reduce the demand for prostitution, but numerous studies have found that the introduction of a new technology supports and contributes to the expansion of prostitution. There are more women who are employed by the sex industry than any other time in history, says Kathleen Richardson, a professor of ethics and culture of robots and AI at the Montfort University, USA. Prostitution and pornography production also rises with the growth of the internet. In 1990, 5.6% of men reported paying for sex in their lifetime. By 2000, this had increased to 8.8%. The arguments that sex robots will provide artificial sexual substitutes and reduce the purchase of sex by buyers is not borne out by evidence, Richardson adds. A report by the Foundation for Responsible Robotics says that we have found no indications that robots will end prostitution or sex trafficking in our investigation or in the surveys. What is more likely to occur is that as men use the robots to practice even more deviant forms of sexual behaviour, it will increase their desire to act out such perverse fantasies on human women. Yeah, you get bored with your dolly, say you go try it on a real one, or younger. Because most women and girls will not want to be treated in such an abusive manner, it will increase demand for trafficked victims who are unable to refuse their criminal oppressors. How are sex robots connected to pedophilia? Some have argued that child sex robots should be used as a treatment for pedophilia. In 2012, a robotics professor at the Georgia Institute of Technology argued that people should not only be legally be permitted to have such dolls, but perhaps some should be handed prescriptions for them. Oh my gosh. I'd like a prescription for my dolly, please, over the counter. Yeah, that's kind of weird. In his a doctor recommends it. Oh, that's kind of weird. In his opinion, sex robots might function as an outlet for people to express their urges, redirecting dark desires towards machines and away from real children. Another advocate, Shin Takagi, runs a Japanese company that produces lifelike child sex dolls, as the Atlantic notes, and ships anatomically correct imitations of girls as young as, as 5 to clients around the world. Takagi, who admits to having pedophilic desires, yeah, he's a pedophile, says, I am helping people express their desires legally and ethically. Well, it's a solution that could provide a solution, but could also cause a massive problem within your community, criminal problem. It's not worth living if you have to live with repressed desire. But just as engagement with adult sex robots is likely to increase the demand for human prostitutes, the use of child sex robots is expected to increase abuse of children. As one paraphilia researcher says, contact with Takaki's products would likely have a reinforcing effect on pedophilic ideation and in many instances causes to be acted upon with greater urgency. Treating paedophiles with robot sex children is both a dubious and repulsive idea. Robert ethicist Patrick Lynn says, yeah, it's like a porn addict. Okay, he says, I need help, I'm addicted, etc., etc. Or you keep feeding him more porn magazines, more porn videos, all this sort of stuff. It does not help. Okay, you're encouraging it. Treating paedophiles with robot sex children is both a dubious and repulsive idea. Robot ethicist Patrick Lynn says, imagine treating racism by letting a bigot abuse a brown robot. Would that work? Or a black robot? Well, that's pretty sad, isn't it? Probably not. What policy actions be taken on this issue? Unfortunately, as with pornography, there are few policy options available to US citizens that can help curb the expansion of this threat. However, there are 2 ways we can make a difference. First, at the local level, you can encourage your local city council or zoning commission to impose ordinances prohibiting sex robot brothels in your community. The Houston City Council in the US, for example, will be voting on such an ordinance. Second, at the national level, you can support legislation banning child sex dolls. A few years back, this article was like 2018, I think. in June, the US House passed the Curbing Realistic Exploitative Electronic Pedophilic Robots (CREEPA) Act. Well, that's a great name for it. Curbing Realistic Exploitative Electronic Pedophilic Robots, or CREEPA Act. The legislation prohibits the importation of or transportation of any anatomically correct doll, mannequin or robot with the features of or with features that resemble those of a minor intended for use in sexual acts. The legislation is currently before the US Senate's Committee on the Judiciary. You can call your senators, local senators, to encourage them to pass this important legislation. You have to put a stop to it. Okay, it's probably already been passed, not too sure because that was like 2018, right? That this article was written, we believe. Okay. So, there you have it, folks. In sum, God would not be very pleased with you as a Christian or a believer with one of these robot wives, robot sex dolls, or anything of that nature. He'd probably say, yeah, it is immoral, going against my creation, my commandments. You're worshipping this rubber dolly, this robot, etc. You're setting yourself up for a big downfall. You know, you're tricking your mind into believing that this is your mate, the one you're supposed to be in union with, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so make the right choices. Okay, so either you're meant to live alone, which sucks. We know how that feels. Live alone in solitude. But if you're a Christian, it's good at some point, because in some stages, because or some ways, because at least you can stop, you can think, you can worship. You don't have other people in the background that are non-righteous. They don't believe. They're atheists, screaming and carrying on, and coming in and, you know, disturbing and all that sort of stuff. You have this downtime, this alone time, which helps you to really focus. You can fast, you can pray, etc. In silence, solitude, you know. But it is nice because we are social beings. We need that contact. Sometimes we are alone in our residence for a couple of weeks, and you do get bored. I mean, cats don't talk. They talk back to you, even though they're very friendly and loving and all that sort of stuff. A dog doesn't talk back. So you go out there, next minute you find yourself you're talking to someone to death, and they're like, oh my gosh, this guy, he's talking me to death. Will he shut up? You know, it's just, you can't help it, you know, because you haven't seen another human for a while. Nobody's bothered to come and visit you, your family, your relations, anything like that, you know. Or we're just too busy, or they're living overseas, or moved overseas, that sort of thing. Okay, and if you're an older man, you just can't get any female to talk to you, you know. Or the only ones you can get to talk to you are like in shopping aisles or at the cashier, that sort of stuff, right? At the checkout, you know, it's pretty hard, pretty suckful, right? Yeah. Some woman will talk to you, you know, think, oh, he's a nice young man or whatever, he's an older woman, and they'll have a little chat with you, then they'll be on their way, you know. A couple of old people. Yes, there are people out there that will stop and talk to you, but yeah, it's kind of hard not to talk to them to death if you haven't seen anyone for a month or so, you know. There's nobody's bothered to come and visit you, and if they do, they only want something, you know, and then you don't see them ever again. They rode off into the sunset like Lone Ranger and Tonto. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, then give us a like, add your comments below this video. We're really interested, genuinely interested in what you have to say about having a love robot or a love doll. What does God think of that? What do you think? You know, keep it civil, keep it nice. We're not going to put up with silly trolls or idiots, you know. This is a adult conversation. If you're an adult and you can't act like an adult, well, you know, go do some shopping or go watch Barney or something. Okay. Or I send you to hell. We're just block you or something like that. Okay, so yeah, if you like this video, click on the like button, subscribe to our channel, add your comments below, and we'll get back to you on those when we can, if we can. And then go share this video with all your families, or your family, friends, and others on this particular topic. Do you love God or do you love a doll?